Charlotte, the day of the concert, everybody's going, everybody's having fun. Now and you are both having a really good time, like in the mix of that concert. However, because he heard their music, for some reason he had a weird ass flashback, or he had a weird ass memory of him actually, not of him and him and Ayumi years ago in this weird ass, in this weird ass, temple or the, facility and shit where they're being tested for their abilities and whatnot. I do believe that their powers at that point, they weren't necessarily incomplete. I don't think that they were as incomplete as they are now, but they did seem to have a extra layer, or at least everybody's powers seemed to have a bit of an extra layer to what it is now, and it wasn't as limited. And it does seem as though that I don't necessarily think that their abilities stopped at their adolescence back then, but that does come from the whole thing of, I don't necessarily know. I'm just sort of just gauging that right now. But as it does seem, but for the first half of this, of them being in this facility, is that they're planning a breakout. All is trying to find a character who he's trying to find somebody who has telekinetic abilities, or at least who is a telepath, so that he can find his brother, rewrite history, because apparently Yu's older brother actually has the ability to go back in time. I believe if he gets light, if he can see light, if he sees light in his eyes, whenever that is what prompts him to actually use his abilities. And because of that, it's like he used, or at least his brother, he wanted to get to his brother so that he can use his abilities to go back in time and change the past, so that they wouldn't be so that they wouldn't be in that facility, and then they could live a normal life. And also, they do talk about another layer to use abilities, which can't really be seen as foreshadowing from earlier, because earlier he used the other guy's body while still in the other guy's body. But for this one, for how they present it is that Ayumi has the ability to fucking create earthquakes. Yu's older brother has the ability to travel through time. But Yu's abilities allows him to look into the eyes of other people, not necessarily take over their body. Well, actually, he can't take over their bodies for 5 seconds. But in the midst of that, if he takes over their body, he can also steal their power, and thus he can use their power flawlessly without any consequence, or at least with barely any consequence. And also he can stack these powers too, which is actually pretty crazy. But that is actually a pretty fun thing, though, to actually see him do that. But actually sort of watching this whole thing just break down and shit. Because at first they take Ayumi, which actually this place is actually really suspicious anyway, because the people who do have powerful powers and shit, they have to be escorted by militarized soldiers who carry MP5s and shit. So that's pretty fucked up. So pretty much as it goes, it's a normal breakout. It's like when they take Ayumi, Yu gets upset, then they knock him out. Then one of the doctors from earlier tells you about his power and how dangerous it is and shit, and how much better it is than everybody else's power. And Yu proceeds to run down the hallways, taking powers, takes the power of one guy who can walk through solid objects. So pretty much he turns into Shadowcat from X-Men, and honestly, he's actually pretty unstoppable. Even though the power in this sort of comes off a little bit more, taxing on the person. But other than that, though, that is how this thing goes. They do that, then that's when they break out of the flashback. They go through all these things. Then Yu meets his brother again while going through this secret tunnel in the base of a mountain. And turns out that their brother's blind, And now Yu wants an explanation for everything. I mean, honestly, I do too. And as far as I know, it seems though that this I feel as though that this is actually solidified the fact that Ayumi actually died in this series, and that if this is going the way how I think it is, I get the feeling that Yu is actually going to take his brother's power, go back in time, and save his sister before she dies and gets cut by that fucking box cutter. But other than that, though, that is sort of how I see things. Really isn't all that bad. It really is cool. And if anything, I could say that probably would be the biggest drawback to act. However, I do hope that because of that, Yu doesn't actually lose his eyesight, because that sort of seems to be a problem with their brother's power, is the fact that he may have lost his eyesight because he had to use his power and go back in time and change things. Maybe he had to give up his eyesight for something. Who knows? But that is what I gotta say about that. Please tell me what do you think about this down there in the comment section. I'll catch you guys on the next John Graves Show. Please keep watching anime, keep playing video games. I'm out.